Hello everybody, welcome back to my game review for another video for today. Today I decided to talk about digital gaming and just kind of like the issues with digital games and the issues that we will run into when it comes to, the future of these game consoles and what, might happen. So, as we all know with the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 3, the PSP, PlayStation Vita, Sony tried to shut down the connectivity to the PSN. They tried to shut down all the stores, which the PSP is fully shut down. You can no longer get digital PSP games. But for the PS3 and PS Vita, they got saved by the fans. But again, one day they will shut down the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita plus PlayStation TV, and you will no longer be able to actually access the store or your digital library games. And even if you have these digital games on your hard drive, when you no longer have the PSN connected to the PS3, and if your CMOS battery dies, then that's really bad because then you lose all access to all your games on your hard drive. And again, if your hard drive breaks one day because they only have like a 5 to 10 year lifespan, you're pretty much screwed, right? So, I'm someone who loves digital games. On my PS4 systems, I have a whole bunch of games in my hard drive right here. I have a whole bunch of digital games on my PlayStation 3. I got digital games on my PlayStation TV. And I love having digital games because, I don't have to use discs. I don't have to worry about my laser and my disk drive breaking in my system. But the issue with these digital games is that one day, when these game companies like Microsoft and Sony shut down all the services from like the store and just everything, you will basically lose all access to your digital games and your digital library of games. And again, if your hard drive breaks, then you're really screwed because then there would be no way to actually get your games back. And this is the issue with digital games. Now, when it comes to physical games, you can always keep your physical games, obviously. You could have your PS4 physical game collection, you could have your PS3 physical collection, and all of your physical discs and, whatever system you have, even on like Nintendo Switch, you got your, physical game cards. Those you get to keep forever. But when you buy digital games on your system and you have this huge digital collection of games, one day you might not be able to even access the games. You might not be able to even access the store. Now, obviously, right now the PS5 just came out. It's like a year old now, and obviously the Xbox Series is out. So the PS5 and Xbox Series are brand new game systems, and the PS4 and Xbox One are now the last generation, the 8th generation. But one day in the future, just like with the PS3 and the Xbox 360 and Nintendo Wii and all those other systems, one day these companies will shut down these systems and their ability to actually access the store and actually to be able to access your digital collection of games. Now, Sony fixed the CMOS battery in the PlayStation 4 system, so you won't have to really worry about losing your digital library on your PS4. If you have a hard drive and you have your digital games, and even if Sony was to shut down all the services from the PS4, you still have your games. The issue, though, is if your hard drive was to break, which they do, and if your hard drive goes out, and let's say Sony shuts down the PSN connectivity with the PS4, and they shut down the store one day, you basically no longer have your digital library of games, and there goes your entire library of digital content that you had on your hard drive, which is a really big issue and a massive flaw with digital games. And you technically don't even own your digital games because they can easily just take them away. They can easily just lock them down. With the PlayStation 3, if your PS3 is offline and your CMOS battery is dead and you try to play one of your digital games, they won't even work because they'll be locked. Now, obviously, with the PlayStation 3, you can still access the internet connection, which means that your digital games will be okay for a while, even if your CMOS battery is dead. But the issue is when Sony shuts down the PS3 permanently, and they shut down all the services to PSN and the store, your digital games are no longer yours, and if your CMOS battery dies one day, which it will, your games will all be locked to you. And even though they fixed the issue with the PS4, they fixed the CMOS battery, if Sony one day, obviously they'll have like new systems and they'll with the PS5 now, but if one day if they decide to stop supporting the PS4 one day, obviously it's not going to be now, obviously it's not going to be like a year from now, the PS4 will still be supported for a long time, but one day when Sony decides to shut down everything with the PlayStation 4, they're like, you know what, this is an old system, they're going to do the same thing with the PlayStation 3, the PSP, and the PlayStation Vita, and they're going to shut down all the services. And even if you have your digital games, like I said, even if you still own your digital games on your system, on your hard drive, once that drive breaks, you can no longer download those games again, you can no longer re-download your library of games, you can no longer get your DLC, and that is a massive, massive issue with digital games. Now, I love digital games because, again, I would rather put my games on my system instead of buying physical discs because, you know, I've had my disk drives break, I've had lasers go bad on me where I can no longer play my games or no longer reads. So digital games are really good because you don't have to worry about them not reading the disc because it's a digital game. But the only issue though is that, again, when these servers go down for these digital games and you no longer can access the store, access PSN, you no longer own your own games, which is really sucky, and that's going to be a massive issue when it comes to digital gaming. But anyway, that's just a video I want to make, is just the issues with digital gaming. You know, I'm somebody who loves digital gaming. All of my PS4 games are all digital games. But one day, if Sony decides to be like, okay, the PS4 is like 20 years old now, or whatever the case may be, if they choose to shut down everything with the PS4, you can no longer download your games, you can no longer access the store, just like with the PS3. Once they officially shut down the PlayStation 3 and no longer have any support for it, you basically lose all your digital content that you have been building up throughout the years, which is really sucky. And I wish that these game companies would, you know, even though we're going towards this digital future and everything's becoming a lot more digital nowadays, it would be nice if these companies actually gave a shit. It would be nice if Sony could actually keep the PSP, the PS Vita, and the PS3 online for like decades, and you don't have to worry about losing your stuff. Like, it would be cool if the PS3 could stay connected to PSN, even though they want to shut it down really badly. It would be cool if Sony kept these digital systems connected to PSN. That way we don't have to lose our games. Because I don't want to lose my games for my PS4 one day. I know it's going to be years in the future when we have to worry about that, but you know, for right now, obviously, our games are safe, they're fine for right now, but it's going to suck one day when they officially shut down the PlayStation 3 and shut down the PlayStation TV and the PS Vita, and obviously they already shut down the PSP, so you can't even get digital games on PSP no more, and you can no longer access the store on the PSP, which really sucks. So, I just want to make a quick video on digital gaming and why it's kind of terrible, and, you know, I wish that these companies would be like, oh, you know, we should just keep these systems able to actually access the store and actually access the internet, so we're actually able to continue to download games and continue to actually keep our libraries. But again, these are game console companies, and whenever there's a new system, whenever we have like, when we have like a PlayStation 7 and 6 and the new Xbox or the next Nintendo system, these old consoles are going to get shut down. Let's look at the Wii U for a good example. The Wii U store, I believe, shut down, I think, at the beginning of the year, or like last year. But the Wii U, you can no longer download your eShop games. You can no longer access the Nintendo games that people built up on the Wii U systems, and same goes for the original Wii. Nintendo always shuts down all access to their consoles. So right when Nintendo Switch came out, Nintendo was like, you know what? The old system, we're going to shut it all down. And that is really, really shitty and really crappy because, we as gamers spend thousands and thousands of dollars on our game systems, on our video games. We spend a lot of money on hard drives, SSDs, and, we all spend lots of money on digital games. So it's kind of a punch in the face when a company way in the future then shuts down an old system, and then you're no longer able to access the digital games, even though you paid thousands of dollars for these games, So, but anyway, with that stuff being said, it's kind of scary. It's kind of like terrifying when you realize that these digital games don't actually belong to you. It's kind of scary that obviously one day these systems that we have will get shut down, and it really sucks. So now obviously you can play PlayStation 4 with physical discs for decades, but the other issue with this is that you have updates and you have patches. Some games actually come out kind of broken and buggy, so one day when Sony and Microsoft officially shut down the services for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, like they're doing with the PS3, like they want to do with the PS3, but once they shut down all these services, you're no longer able to update your games. So even if you have physical copies of games that you plug into your system, there's a lot more issues because you can no longer have the game patches and the updates. So if you have a broken, buggy game that really needs an update to fix the game, in the future you may no longer have that because, again, once Sony shuts down the PSN connectivity and the store, well, that would just really suck, and some of your games will even work without having an update. And there's a lot of digital games out there that you can't even play physically, so that's the other thing, is that you may have a digital game only that you can't even play on disc, which is the other issue with this. But hopefully Sony keeps the PlayStation 4 going for decades to come. Hopefully Microsoft keeps the Xbox One going for many, many years to come. Or maybe they could just never shut down the store and the connectivity with the Microsoft and PlayStation services. Maybe they can just keep these systems going because these are very close to being just like the PS5 and Xbox Series, just with slightly different graphics. Like the PS5 has slightly better graphics than PS4, but they both share the same store, and they both technically are very similar systems to each other. So, and same goes for the Xbox. So hopefully, unlike with the PS3, unlike with the PlayStation Vita and TV, and unlike with the PSP, maybe Sony can keep these systems going for like decades in the future. But again, I kind of doubt that because Sony did try to take away everything from the PS3. They tried to shut down the PS3 and PSN, and they tried to do the same thing with the PlayStation Vita. Luckily, a bunch of fans came out and said, you're not going to do this to us, and obviously Sony decided to keep the PS3, the store and stuff up, but one day, obviously the PS3 will be shut down for good and only be able to access offline, and the same thing will happen to the PlayStation Vita and the PS TV. So, who knows what will happen with the PS4? Who knows what will happen with the 8th generation game systems? But for right now, this is just the video I want to make. digital games are really awesome and fun, but one day we may lose our digital content. Anyway, peace out. And tell me in the comments below what you think about digital gaming and what may happen in the future to our game systems. But anyway, peace out.